would you say to someone who's, because I get this, I hear this quite a bit from practitioners where it's like, oh gosh, I don't like being on video,
Well, everyone
camera.
is like that, I think, in the beginning, or most people. I was like that. I didn't like the way that I looked or sounded. The camera was actually a therapy for me, though, because I figured out I was moving my hands in all these places. I was saying and ah like way too much. And so I took that as I constructively criticized myself, and I'm like, oh, well, I can improve my presence that way. But you also have to really connect with why you're doing this. If you truly want to help more people in the community, video is not going anywhere. And sometimes we need to get out of our own way because there are people that are suffering and dying needlessly because they don't have access to your information. And it would be very selfish of me to hold this information in and not make the best attempt to get it out there. So again, I think you really have to connect with why you're doing this thing, you know, at the foundational level. And really, you want to help people. This is the way to help people. I mean, even on a similar note, if you're going to produce Facebook content already, well, you could chop that down and throw some of it on TikTok as well, or you can even do a separate short if you're going to do it, so you can consolidate what you're going to do. That way you don't have to necessarily shoot video every single day. But again, there are a lot of hacks that you can do to probably avoid camera shyness. I've just always found it beneficial to connect with why you're doing what you're doing. And sometimes even when I first started, my wife would be behind the camera because I found it easier to speak when she was behind. Talking to an inanimate object was very difficult for me. And for some reason, I don't know why that was. I always wanted to do another take, and it took me a couple hours to do a simple 2-minute video. So we live and we learn. You got to hack to where you put yourself in the best position to win.
Yes, because video is one of those things where people can actually get a sense of you so much better than if you just posted, 10 different text posts on some social media site.
Exactly.
So one of the fastest ways to build like and trust. And yeah, then, and what was it like for you the first time you actually did video or spoke on, in front of a lot of people?
Well, the hardest part for me was appearing natural, because you have a tendency, if you're your first time, you're trying to like maybe be something that you're not a little bit, and you're over embellishing certain characteristics or things. And like I was mentioning before, my language, there was a lot of blah that was getting in the way of my regular communication. And then I didn't even have a handle on the technology angle of things. So when I would publish a video, my software was doing something. It was all grainy. We didn't have this technology that we did now. So I was definitely unskilled. But even now, when I look back, I had people connect with those videos that were, in my opinion, terrible. But I did build a relationship with a lot of people, like chiropractors initially, because I put myself out there. And that will happen to you. It's just, you have to put yourself out there. And we're our harshest critics in many cases. If I make a mistake, most people might even know that's a mistake, but I'll beat myself up over it, or I used to. So again, I think it's all about perspective and just connecting with your why. And with the phones these days, the quality is just amazing. So there's just a lot of, you can look a lot more professional than it was 10 years ago.
Yes, and you're just a great example of where it's like just get started, right? And then you just get more comfortable too. And it is in terms of TikTok and other social media platforms, it's a great way for us introverts, because it's like we don't have to leave the house. We don't have to go be on stage in front of a boatload of people. I mean, we can, but it's just leverages time too for that kind of reach. Just like you were showing there, that's like one video and 2,800 views. Likes, and like, why not, right? So
Sure.
Are you noticing anything about demographics? Practitioners not be on it if they have certain kinds of demographics of people they're looking to be their patients? Or
there's a misconception that it's still a kids network, and that's really not the case. If you look, last time I checked, in fact, I want to say over 30% of TikTok is users over the age of 30, which from my understanding, like most health experts in general, like that's going to be your demographic right there. So in the next year, 2 years, that's only going to rise. Everyone that I talk to that's on there, like that's my age or above, like once they're on there, they're like, this is a really cool platform. This is really cool. And they actually feel good when they get off the platform. So that's only going to increase. Like I'm convinced of that. So yeah, our demographics are definitely there, especially if you're taking care of patients right now, either in your office and or virtually. Like that's, I mean, unless you, I don't know, unless, I mean, well, even if you have a younger based practice, you're still going to find a lot of your people there.
And it's so true where it's like, when Facebook was a thing, people who were in 40s and 50s were probably not the first adopters, but then as they got their parents more interested, younger people got their parents more interested, or then the demographics in that range or older ended up being a part of it too. So that's only going to happen with TikTok too. So
Yep.
what advice would you have for someone thinking about this in implementing, whether it's TikTok or other kinds of social media platforms? It can certainly help to grow a patient base, but then don't have the time. It's like, I just want to be seeing patients. I have to go figure out this tech stuff, and I just don't have time for this.
It really comes down to priorities, really, because I talk to a lot of doctors every week, and ones that are just beginners, and that's one of the most common things that I hear. But I find out that a lot of them are on the computer an hour each day, for instance, but they're really not being productive in terms of marketing their office. Or many of them are watching, I don't know, 2 hours of television in the evening. It's like, again, this is a total priority. If you really want to change lives, if you want to grow your practice, if you want to, like, you've got to take the necessary action. And so it's just so rare for somebody not to actually have the time, like truly. And it's just about reallocating and being more efficient, maybe with some things that you're already doing. I always say in social media, if you can apply even 30 minutes a day just to growing your office, whether it's through Facebook, TikTok, whatever, it's that consistency that builds and builds, and eventually that snowball turns into an avalanche. It's the momentum that you have to create the habit. And once you have that, like initially you might be a little slower when you create your videos, but now I can think of a topic, I'll turn the camera on, I might talk for 3 to 4 minutes, whatever, and I'm done. So you'll get to that point, but you have to practice if that's the thing. And then content creation is one element of the strategy. Then you have to understand the content distribution, the marketing angle. That's where my flagship social media elite training helps a lot of doctors. And then you have the advertising as well. So if you've got great content, you can put it on steroids by advertising it to the masses in your local area. And now you're going to bypass those algorithm filters on Facebook and other channels. So distribution is extremely important. But in actuality, if you have 30 minutes a day, you can easily make any of this stuff work. It's just about reallocating your time.
Yes, because you've got to do something to grow the practice, and it's just a matter of being laser with your time, and it doesn't have to take that long. The training course that you have, which is amazing. I mean, I can't believe what you offer in it for what you charge is amazing. What would you recommend for someone wanting to hand social media off more? What are some keys to handing it off?
There's a time and place for delegation, 100%. I have a separate agency that does Facebook and Instagram ads for doctors and professionals. But usually before they even go that route, or I would even recommend, you've got to get your hands dirty, because if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And unfortunately, if I actually look at my most successful clients, like out of everyone, like who's really been the most successful, it's those doctors that have had their finger on the pulse. And I'm not saying that they need to be all techie geeky with this stuff, but they know what's going on and they know why certain things are happening, because there are agencies out there where, you'll just say, okay, do my whatever for me, and they will do this thing for you. And then if you don't know, for example, that you can get all the information that you need to about a campaign, and really within a few $100s or less, many times, you might get charged a few $1,000s for the same information. And it's not the best use of funds. But when you understand certain elements, absolutely, you can either bring somebody in-house, you can delegate to a certain agency. That's totally your call, and you should delegate certain things. But like I said, if you can't track them first, it's going to be really hard to get the return that you want to get, just because you're trying to be totally hands off. And until you get to that point where you have some degree of mastery, it's not going to probably work like you want it to work.
That is some great advice, because I definitely hear from a lot of practitioners who outsource it, whether it's Facebook ads or other kinds of things or social media things, that they end up feeling really disappointed and they're not getting their ROI.
Mhm.
But in finding out more about what's going on, typically they don't really know much of what's going on. They just think, okay, I could just hand this off and pay this money, and now I get leads. And so what you're just saying is such great advice, where it's like you need to know enough to understand, and then enough to also still have some element of your voice in your brand, because people are
Exactly.
still looking to build that connection with you, not like just some templated posts and things.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head because you could take Facebook, for instance. Many people, when they think of Facebook advertising, they think of the direct response, one and done console offer type of ads. And that is like a very small fraction. That does nothing for your branding. Well, it can actually backfire if you're not very careful. But with so many layers and the strategies that I teach in Social Media Elite, for instance, there should be a layer of your goodwill side of things, or your branding, where you're putting out great content so you get really well known in the market for certain things on a much, much deeper level. You have the story content, the story marketing side of things, where you can fuse your personal story or patient story or testimonials into the market a certain way. You have the video component. I mean, you could do written or video stories, but you've got the helpful content-based videos. You've got the retargeting aspect, where people see one portion of your content, and then you can come back and show them other pieces of content. There's a lot of different layers that you want to have aside from the quote unquote lead gen or direct response stuff, because long-term sustainability, like if you think about this long term, you want to be the Dr. Oz of the marketplace. Essentially, you want to be the most widely known clinic or figure and get known for the right reasons, not necessarily like you're the cheapest person per se in the marketplace, because that's only going to that could, like I said before, that could kind of backfire if you're not careful. So there's just a lot of different strategies and layers to a very comprehensive Facebook campaign. And then eventually, as TikTok rolls out their local advertising, it's going to be very similar. You'll have pieces of content that are geared more for the direct response. Others will be for that branding, that goodwill. And if you merge them like the best way together, it's just, you're going to be so much more long-term sustainable. And then even if Facebook or another platform, if these went away in 6 months, you've got that brand recognition, that brand equity that's priceless, and people recognize you everywhere.
Yes. And would you speak a little bit about your social media elite? Because I was looking and I thought, wow, this would be really good to for either practitioners who want to do social media for themselves and make it more effective,
Mhm.
and because you get into things beyond just TikTok, and I mean there's Instagram and Facebook and other platforms, and how to
Mhm.
best utilize it for attracting patients in particular. And then also for practitioners who want to hand this off, because then you understand enough about it to hand it off successfully and be getting good ROI. So I would love for you to share with our listeners a bit more about it.
Sure. Yeah. So Social Media Elite, that's my flagship training, and most practitioners will start there. And I cover everything from Facebook organic marketing to Facebook advertising. I give you campaigns that you can actually swipe that have been successful. I give story outlines and all that other elegant, non-conventional ways of advertising. And then I have a separate module in there about Google Maps, Google My Business, social proof element, TikTok, I think there are 5 or 6 video trainings on TikTok in there with specific examples. YouTube, obviously YouTube is still really important, the second largest search engine online. LinkedIn. I mean, I hit all the major channels and really give you the strategies that, all right, this will produce more impact. This is what's working for clients right now. Some stuff hasn't changed in a long time, but there have been other strategies that are newer or that consistently evolve. And if something evolves, we put it in the course. And I think right now we have over 70 videos in there. Plus, you get access to a private Facebook group with over 1,600 doctors and professionals that are in there right now. And then we do offer a 6-month money back guarantee with that course. No one ever returns it, because one patient more than pays for the system. And then you're learning how to fish and feed your office for a lifetime. So it's not like a one and done postcard drop. Really hits the high points. There's a quick start manual that comes in it, but it gives you like the 3,000-foot bird's eye overview. But you're not going to take that all at once because there's a lot of stuff you could be doing social media wise. But the power comes in when you take one strategy, you get that in place, and then you start to stack and you stack and you stack and you stack. And eventually you got this massive spider web online that's just feeding traffic from all different places. And it's just a really, really powerful thing. So again, that's where most doctors typically start. And then you can learn more about that course at dcincome.com/blog/SME. And then the other service is...
I'll make sure to put it in the link here, so you all can just click on the link and then register for it right now. So
okay, perfect. Yeah. And then, for those that may eventually want to delegate, if you want to complete an application, we do have a separate agency that does that. But again, it's like, you got to know some of the basics first, or else, we're probably not going to accept you into there, because it's not going to work out as well as you want. And I'm being totally transparent there. I don't like to deliver lofty promises and, hit you with a flashy sensationalism, even though I could share some amazing stories. But you got to understand how to do a little bit of that first, get your hands dirty, if you want to have the most successful approach.
Yes, just 30 minutes a day. And it doesn't have to take up a lot of time, but it can actually help support with bringing in new patients into the practice, and also stay connected with your existing ones, right? Like, and reactivate and for referrals.
100%. There are strategies even on Facebook. You can upload your entire email list to Facebook, and you can stay top of mind with those individuals and run content to them. That would be a very smart thing to do on a regular basis. I even give a script in there that helps to reactivate. I can share stories of clients that are doing over 30 to 40 new patients a month just from social media. Some do, an extra 8, whatever. You get in what you kind of like, or you get out what you put in, I should say. There's a lot of stuff in there. It'll help you grow, but you've got to be willing to do a little bit of work and then be consistent with it. And I promise you're going to start to see results.
And, it's also one of those things where, as practitioners, you can't possibly keep up with, oh, this is working well, oh, this is not working as well. Like, it's so much more helpful to have somebody who just does this day in and day out and helps clients with it day in and day out. And I love that you put the latest updates of what's working in there, so people can just plug into it. So
yeah, and it's helpful. I don't. I'm not going to release a social media elite 2.0. I don't do that. I mean, once you're in, and we'll throw new trainings in there periodically. And then if you have questions, you can always ask them in the group or email me directly. So that's goals to keep you moving forward, little by little, step by step. And there's still a massive opportunity right now, and it's unfortunate over the last year because you had a certain degree of healthcare practices that went under, unfortunately. But there's a lot of opportunity, because people are ready to get out and about. They're ready to kind of live life again. And it would be a very smart play to put yourself in the best position to win and to really have that outreach via social media all dialed in. And again, that's what this course shows you how to do.
Awesome. Yeah, with every challenge comes opportunity. So, and would you give everyone the link again, just so they have it fresh too, especially if they're just listening at the moment?
Yeah, it's dcincome.com/blog/SME. And you can go there, and it breaks down everything. And then there's a link on there if you want. You can see a bunch of other success stories from other clients, but it's all simply listed out. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I was checking it out myself, and I was thinking, oh, wow, I think it's like the social media course anybody should buy, just because it covers the different platforms, and there's just things that you can plug into and use, and without having to try to figure things out yourself, and really shortcut things to be able to help attract new patients too. So thank you so much for taking the time and being here with us today, sharing all those behind the scenes things you're seeing that's working for your clients. And thank you so much again, and really excited to that you joined us today.
Awesome, Chen. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.